larger than life. He'll give you strife. He's Todd. He's tall, he's mean. He's a labeling machine. He's Todd. Rides a motorbike. He'll tell you what it's like. He's Todd. Don't know what he'll say. He'll scare the kids away. He's Todd. He's Todd.
Good morning. Happy frickin' Thursday. Thanks for coming back today. And man, it's been a hell of a week. Now, you're probably asking why I'm wearing this skull cap. And so I actually was in Georgetown, Colorado last week. And, you know me, the picture of health, you know, hiking through the mountains and camping in the woods. And no, not really. All right. So I basically sat on my ass and fished the whole time. And if you've never tried fishing from atop a donkey, it's tough. Anyway, thanks for joining us today. It's been a busy week. I hope you're having a great week. I hope everyone's healthy out there. There's a lot of health concerns. And, you know, I understand, I heard that here in California, you know, the mask mandates are coming back. So again, I'm kind of dusting these off here. And I really don't know, you know, which one to wear, but I'm sure I'll pick one of them. That's one of my favorites. But anyway, I always get strange looks when I'm out wearing my mask. So anyway, bottom line is stay healthy out there, if you would, please. So we're going to talk about some new labels, and these have actually been out for a couple of months. But I really wanted to go into detail about our new flag labels and our new self-laminating labels. And traditionally, Brother has a labeling system where it repeats the identifier, if you will. So when you wrap it around the cable, whether you're 6'6", when I'm standing up straight, or you know, Bruce Page's size, not so much, you can see it from any angle that you're looking at it. And so with self-laminating labels, it's a really old system that's been around for a long time, and it was developed primarily for inkjet printers. And the reason for inkjet printers is they would print on a small little white area, and we'll show you in a little bit, small little white area followed by a clear tail. That clear tail would wrap around it, and it would protect that ink. But if you don't know already, all of the traditional Brother tapes, the continuous link tapes, they're all laminated. So scratch resistant, scuff resistant, oil resistant, water resistant, caustic resistant, UV resistant, fade resistant. It's a really good label. So we kind of follow in the footsteps of days of yore with that self-laminating label. But self-laminating labels are actually still very popular. And so to give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about today, so yes, this is the original vial that I pulled out and filled with water and put labels in there a year and a half ago. I developed a small little leak in there, but this is actually the original water. So you can see our traditional labels, and there's a traditional flag right there. And here is one of our traditional cable wraps. And no matter how I turn this, you can see it from any angle. The problem is with the flags, they're kind of difficult to put on. But what I'm going to do is, part of the reasons why I was in Colorado last week is they wanted me to shoot a professional video. Now, you guys know, you know, there's really nothing professional about me. But Kate's got a couple of videos, and what Kate's going to do here in a second is she's going to show you. The first video that we shot was on our self-laminating tape, and how it looks, how it comes out of the printer, and how it's applied. So, Kate, if you got a second, take me off this camera, if you will, and let's roll that in.
So after you've updated your firmware on the PTE 550 at support.brother.com, it's time to print some SLE self-laminating labels. So as you can see, here's our traditional cable wrap. The best thing that I think about this traditional cable wrap is the fact that it prints in a strip and it's got a half cut feature. Well, it continues on to the SLE tape, which is our self-laminating tape. You can still pull from a database, and again, it prints in a strip. So the best thing about this is being that it is essentially a half cut, it's just a matter of pulling the label off the strip, applying the white printable area to the cable, and then wrapping the clear tail around it. And here's your finished product.
All right. So that was done in Colorado, and there's a lot more to come. I can't wait to see the outtakes. So self-laminating label still prints off on a strip, but as you can see, it prints horizontally, and it only prints in that white printable area. Now, before you do that, please update the firmware at support.brother.com. You absolutely have to. I found out by trial and error, by not paying attention. You have to upgrade the firmware, not only in the PTE 550W, but the other desktop models as well. So the PTE 800, the PTP 900 series. So update your firmware. If you need help or assistance, we do have some guidance on upgrading the firmware. It's always good to keep these things up to date anyway. So the PTE 550W, the PTE 800W, and the PTP desktop series, which is right here. So I believe it's right there. Anyway, it's either there or there, or whatever. So update the firmware on those. Now, the thing about self-laminating label, as you saw, the drawbacks, and I'm going to give you the good and the bad. So the drawbacks of self-laminating label, traditionally, they came in 8.5 by 11 sheets. Now you can print them on 4-inch sheets with basically 4 across. The downside about that is it's usually a pre-printed job that's put into a manila folder or rolled up and sent out into the field. As a contractor, I can tell you the trials and tribulation of pre-printing. The issues I had with pre-printing is that we would pre-print something, we'd put it in the folder, and hoping that no coffee got on it, or they didn't set their the lunch on top of it and crinkle them all up. But when you get to the job site and you start labeling, all right, normally when you discover a mistake is during the certification process. And I talked about this a couple episodes ago with AEM. The issue is that when you discover that mistake, everything has to come back off and relabeled. All right, so that can be detrimental as far as job costing and wasting labor and so forth and whatnot. Because you really can't print on site. Everything is transported from point A to point B. Right. So the other issue I have is going back to what I was talking about between somebody 6'6" and Bruce's stature, is that unless you put that in, and here's an example. I forgot I had this example. So unless you put that in the upright position, where is it? So here is a label that's in the upright position. So I'm looking at this label and I can identify this label. But if the tech didn't put it in the upright position and he puts a little bit off center, that's what it looks like. That's what you get. All right. And so what does the tech do? He goes in there and he twists the cable to see the identifier. That can be detrimental to the network. Self-laminating, I think, comes into play for existing self-laminating jobs. So if you want to keep the cadence of that particular job that could have been done a while ago, we now have a solution for you. Do I think it's the best solution? Not necessarily. I think our traditional cable wrap, which here's an example here of the traditional cable wrap, it doesn't matter how I look at this thing. I can see it from any angle. Now, if you compare the two, this one is the self-laminating. Here's our traditional cable wrap. Both are laminated. So both are going to have the protection that you need. But again, you know, as I turn this, okay, this one here starts to come back into play, all right, into view. So we haven't had that particular tape in our lineup for a long time. And on those jobs that are traditionally old school self-laminated, They loved our system. They loved our cable wrap, but they didn't want to break the cadence. And my suggestion is to go back and relabel everything with our traditional cable wrap, but they tend not to agree with that. So again, we now have both options. If you have a job that is calling an RFP that's calling for self-laminating tape, traditionally in the past, I'm sorry, we couldn't help you. And I go in and I fight about the attributes of our lamination and being it's somewhat similar to self-lam. They didn't want anything to do with it. So we do have that available. If you have an RFP or RFQ, or if you have an existing job that is using self-laminating, that is available. It is available in 1 inch size and 1.5 inches. So 24 millimeter and 36 millimeter. And you saw it prints off in the strip. All right. If you're doing a continuous or if you're pulling from the database, and then they're nice and easy to peel. All right. Very, very easy to peel. So that is our self-laminating tape. It is available now. The next thing we're going to talk about is flags. I'm not a big fan of flags at all. I'm just not. And the reason being is that I have no patience whatsoever. I still cannot peel an orange. I guess I got issues. So the thing about putting a flag on is that it's very labor intensive, believe it or not. And you have to have a steady hand, unlike this. And so it makes it very difficult for me to put a flag on. Now, again, here's our traditional flag right here. All right. And what happens is it prints off a label and you've got the same identifier repeated on both sides of the label. The whole idea is to, take the cable and you align that up and you try and fold it over. But I'm telling you, it's difficult and there's a lot of labor wasted on that. And if you don't get them mirrored up exactly, all right, if you don't get them mirrored up exactly and you're a little bit off, then what happens is this adhesive is exposed. And if you have other labels that are in close proximity, then that adhesive tends to act like a magnet to those other flags, and then it becomes a nightmare. Flagging is necessary. I understand that. Again, I'm not a big fan of it. I would highly, highly recommend a cable wrap. But if you're doing some small OD wire or cable, or if you're doing, let's say, fiber, sometimes it's a necessity, if you will. The other thing that I'm not a fan of, and today's not, let's be negative day, these are just real world situations, is when you get a bunch of these flags together, all right, it kind of looks like this. And it could make it tough to identify that. Now, I do have an option. We'll talk about the option at the end of this, but here's our traditional flag right here. All right. And as you can see, I did an okay job, but I can also see a little bit of imperfection where it's not exactly, and there's a little hair of tackiness on the edge right there. So we have a new flag out. And I actually, for having no patience whatsoever, it's fairly easy for me to put these on. Now, these are die cut flags. They will not work in the PTE 550W because the PTE 550W does not have a die cut sensor. You need to use these on, let's say, the PTE 800, all right? The PTE 800 comes equipped already with a die cut sensor in there, but please do upgrade the firmware in there before you start doing that. So we have one more video. And Kate, I think if you actually turn the camera off on me, maybe the volume will go up a little bit. I don't know how this works. But Kate, could you cue that second video? And we're going to take a look at some flag labeling.
So now that you've updated the firmware at support.brother.com for the PTE 800, we've printed our label, our new FLE label, and I'm going to show you the two different ways to put this on a cable. Now, this particular flag goes both different ways. You can do horizontal and you can do vertical. So let's go ahead and let's peel this label. It's a two-part system. So as I go through this, you'll be able to see the second part. So as you can see, you have that little dangling piece of tape, essentially. The easiest way I found to do this is to lie this on a flat surface, press the cable onto the location, as you can see, now what I'm going to do is I am going to fold this over onto itself. The next thing is to fold the actual flag onto itself on the other side. And there is the finished product. So now that we've gone through the process of the horizontal application, I'm going to show you the vertical application. Again, this is a two-piece system on the actual tape that comes out of the printer. So again, what I'll do in this case is there's a small, it's tough to see, but there's a small little piece of tape that's unto itself that comes off of the actual die cut flag. So the easiest way I found to do this is to take the separate little piece of label and lie it flat on the surface. Next, take your cable, adhere in the center of that little piece to get this effect right here. Fold this piece onto itself like so. Now you'll peel the main part of the label. You can see where I'm missing the little piece that I just adhered to the cable. Peel the main part. As you can see, you now still have a piece attached to the actual label. The easiest way to do that and to get rid of that and hide it is to fold it unto itself like so. Now take this and we're going to apply to the stub here. Again, the easiest way to do it I found is to put this on a flat surface, line this up in the center, fold this over unto itself, and there's your finished product. So now we have vertical and we have horizontal.
All right, so that was my professional video. Pretty sad, huh? So the application, and I was going pretty slow on that thing, the application is actually a lot faster than that. And your end results are, here's a couple of examples right here. So depending upon the application and depending upon the room that you have between your wire, cable, fiber, whatever the case may be, you can go both ways on this. And sometimes you're not going to have a flat surface. As you saw in the video, you're not going to have a flat surface. These I actually did just holding the actual cable in hand. And the beautiful thing about the little dangling parts is that they don't have to be exact. You just need a base in which to adhere this piece to. But the best thing about these are that they just fold over, and they're almost have a pre-crease in there, which is pretty cool. So again, these are available in a couple of different colors. I do believe we have black on yellow. I believe we have that on the Self-Lam as well. Anyway, but they come in two different sizes. They come in. Excuse me. You ever have one of those brain farts right now? No. They don't. I take it back. The flag label, the flag label itself is only one size. And if you use this one right here, I think the benefit of using the horizontal one is that you can see how much room this takes up and how far it's protruding from the actual cable. The thing I like about this is that you can get within close proximity of the other cables. You can put it in the upright position. You can put it in the horizontal position on the cable itself, like so. But again, you don't have that adhesive that may be touching to other flag labels on the side there. So I'm a huge fan of these things, huge fan of these, only because for me, again, without patience, they're really easy to put on. And the benefit for the end user, the contractor, the integrator out in the field is that it's going to take less labor than this traditional flag right here. It's not the end all be all. Let's say that you need to put multiple lines, and on something like this, I can put 6 or 7 different lines of information. On a traditional flag, this one you're going to be somewhat limited to the amount of lines you're going to be able to put on there. But again, if it's only just a basic label with a small amount of characters, I think this is actually your best bet right here. So again, look for those at any one of our distribution partners. They are available. Both are actually available. So let's talk about an alternative to flagging, which we've got a lot of people on board with this. I'm a big fan of this, but let's talk about our heat shrink. So the heat shrink itself, do I have some heat shrink? I don't think I have any here. The heat shrink itself, I should have come better prepared for this. The heat shrink itself comes in an orange package, and it comes in different sizes. You can get it in a 1/4 inch, you can get it in 3/8, you can get it in 1/2 inch, 3/4, 1 inch, and 36 millimeter. Now, the nice thing about that is you don't always have to shrink it. We have a 2-to-1 shrink ratio, but what I'm seeing a lot of people doing, specifically on fiber, is they're using it as a loose tube. So you get 5 feet of heat shrink, all right? Continuous heat shrink. You got to tell the printer exactly how long you want the heat shrink. It could be 0.75, it could be an inch, whatever the case may be, and it prints off on a flat tube. And what I see a lot of people doing on smaller OD cable is they will slip that over the end of the cable, and then they're not going to shrink it. Now, the beautiful thing about that is that it doesn't take up the space that this does right here, right? And it's also movable if you don't shrink it. So if you have to do a reterm on it, take it and move it back. Once you're done with the reterm and you've connected it, move it back into position. So I'm a big fan of heat shrink in a couple of different ways. Number one, when it calls for actual heat shrink, 2-to-1 shrink ratio, works like a champ. No distortion of the actual, any of the alphanumeric characters you put on here, or leave it loose tube. And again, it's really a label that you never have to remove unless you replace that cable, because you can move it forward and back. You can pull from a database. And the nice thing about anything that I'm talking about here, whether it be our traditional cable wraps, whether it be the self-lam, whether it be the new flag labels, the old flag labels, or even the heat shrink, the key here is that you can certainly do one at a time, which is very labor extensive, or you can pull from the database, because the PTE 550 and the PTE 800 are probably this one right here, all right, the lunchbox, and then up above here. Those units you can dump databases into and pull from the database. So several thousand labels inside that database, and instead of hand typing it, again, you're just extracting that information. You're going to put the information onto whatever particular label that you're going to be applying to the cable, or fiber. Makes it nice and easy. If you want to learn how to do that, send me an email. I'll let you know. I got videos. We can do a one-on-one. But essentially, that's our new system that we have for you. Let me know if you have any questions. Later on the show, Kate's going to show our contact information that she does every week. The other things we have going is I'll be at Bixie, believe it or not. And I don't know what the mask restrictions are, but I'm sure I can use nobody will mind me putting on one of those masks, but I will be at Bixie. We are going to be right next to AEM right there. All right, we've got a new collaboration with AEM. I'm sure we're going to have lots of goodies and surprises and contests and stuff like that. If you're going to be there, I'm not sure of the booth number yet. Look us up, but I will be there signing autographs to the hundreds of thousands that have currently watched the show. I don't know if they're all going to show up at Bixie at one time, but I'm hoping I'm going to be a draw for them to do so. Anyway, so I will be at Bixie. So look for me at Bixie there, if you will. A couple other things. We got the shirts available. All right. And the shirts are available for free. Just let one of us know. We have the second run of shirts coming out. I just saw the design for that. I think you're really going to like that. So shirts are going to be available. We got some exciting new episodes coming up pretty soon. Again, any questions, comments, concerns, or if anyone needs any bad advice whatsoever, I'm the one to come to. So, Kate, if you could, let's throw on the next screen. Upcoming schedule. So labor savings. This is my favorite because I'm a tightwad. Just ask my wife. I really am. And whether it's leaving zip ties on the ground or rolls of tape inside the closet, every little bit counts. And one of the things that we don't want to do is we don't want to cause, or labeling as a whole, not we, but labeling as a whole is you want to make money off of labeling. And so one of the things I'm really good at is not only making money, but saving money, being a former contractor. And so what I'm going to talk about is labor savings altogether. A lot of contractors and end users don't realize the amount of money that they're spending on labeling. They think it's a miscellaneous entry into their RFQ or RFP or ancillary, or it's not. It's not. It's absolutely amazing when I go into these contractors and I do my consulting, the amount of money that they're wasting on labeling. And so, here's a prime example right here. You don't want that stuff. So I'm going to be talking about labor savings, and you'd be absolutely surprised at the amount of labor. Now, labor equals dollars, so we're going to talk about that. September 9th, to be determined. Again, we got a few things going on that particular day. I'm sure it's going to be a great show, maybe a special guest, maybe another giveaway. I don't know. We'll do something. September 23rd, I may be coming to you from Atlanta. And if I do, it's going to be a live show from Atlanta. I'll actually be in a show, and I'm sure there's going to be special guests there. But we're going to talk about on-demand safety labeling. This is something that traditionally the contractors will go out and they'll purchase from a third party. They're very expensive. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some solutions to on-demand safety labeling, and there's a whole lot to talk about there. So that is probably going to be a really good show coming from somewhere in Atlanta. If you want to contact us, here's how to contact us. So I'm out of lovely Vista, California, and it is hotter than hell here. I know, he lives in California. Love to go. The thing is, it doesn't matter. I'm also paying close to $5 a gallon for gas. And you figure somebody paying $5 a gallon for gas would have a little better weather. So it's been hot and actually humid here. I'm only a few miles from the coast, but it's been bad. Anyway, I'm out of Vista, California. So we got Mr. Jamie Brookover, who hails out of Virginia Beach. Mr. Dan Cobb is somewhere in Wisconsin. Mr. Bruce Page is in Marblehead. Anyways, in Marblehead. Rob Dawkins out of North Carolina, and Mr. Craig Robinson, our glorious leader, hails out of Bradenton, Sarasota area in Florida. So stay healthy, Craig. With that being said, I want to thank you very much. It's 10:27. Again, questions, comments, concerns. If you want a shirt, please reach out. Chuck Bowser, your shirt's on the way. But if you want a shirt, let us know. We would appreciate the advertisement out there. And it's a cool shirt. It really is a cool shirt. I was very impressed with this shirt. So let us know. And let us know if there's any way we can help you with the labeling project. At the end of the day, that's what we're all here for. We're here to help you. Help me help. Well, that's already been said. Anyway, if you need help, reach out. You got our contact information. If you didn't get that, reach out to me. Go to, for past episodes, I got my own URL. I got my own URL, right? And it's www.bswithtodd.com. And you can sign up for future shows there. You can look at any of the past shows there. And I think there's been 38 or 39 right now. So again, bswithtodd.com or brothersmobilesolutions.com. With that being said, look at the time, it's 10:28. You know what? I think I'm out. I think I've said all I need to say for today. Thank you very much to the tens of thousands who join me every other Thursday morning. I do appreciate that. If you do have suggestions, let me know on anything labeling or industry related. Reach out and let me know. I'm always open for suggestions as well. I'm through groveling. That's it. Have yourself a great rest of the week. Todd out.